The start of spring training is typically a time for hope, for optimism, for good vibes. That is absolutely not the case for the Toronto Blue Jays. Earlier this week, after months of negotiation, the Blue Jays announced that they had failed to reach an extension with Vladimir Guerrero Jr, who had imposed a deadline for contract talks of Toronto's first full squad spring training workout. As things currently stand then, Guerrero is just months away from hitting free agency, and the Blue Jays' future is more uncertain than ever. Let's get one thing clear off the top. We don't know what negotiations look like between the Blue Jays and their 25-year-old superstar. As much as some fans want to heap blame on the front office for failing to get a deal done, we don't know what they offered Guerrero, nor do we know the number that Vlad was willing to sign for. If he was asking for something close to the $765 million that Juan Soto just received from the New York Mets in free agency, it's understandable that the Blue Jays would balk at that. As talented as he is, Guerrero isn't Soto. Nor is he Shohei Ohtani, who signed a heavily deferred $700 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers last winter. He hasn't been nearly as consistent as Soto, and he doesn't have the upside of Ohtani. So there's that. And I'll also add that Guerrero's self-imposed deadline shouldn't be an impediment to getting an extension done over the next few weeks. If the Blue Jays came to him 2 weeks out from opening day and offered him exactly what he was asking for, do you really think he'd say no? I don't. Having said that though, it's pretty hard for Blue Jays fans to feel optimistic about the short or long-term future of the organization given the current reality. Yes, it's still technically possible that a deal could be reached before opening day, or even once Vlad hits free agency at season's end, much like Aaron Judge did with the New York Yankees back in 2022. After all, Vlad has repeatedly said that he loves Toronto, he loves Blue Jays fans, and he wants to stay with the organization. But there's clearly still a meaningful gap between how Guerrero values himself and how the Blue Jays value him. According to Guerrero, the Blue Jays' offers never got close to what he was looking for. But once he hits free agency, he only needs one team out of 30 to value him the way he values himself, which, given his age and track record, seems like a decent bet. Long story short, this was the Blue Jays' best opportunity to get Guerrero locked up long-term, and they didn't get it done, which means that this season could well be the end of an era in Toronto, and the beginning of, or perhaps continuation of, a painful stretch of non-competitiveness. See, not only is Guerrero slated to hit free agency at season's end, but so is Bo Bichette, a two-time All-Star who, along with Guerrero, has formed the nucleus of the Blue Jays for a half-decade. In fact, those two have accounted for more than 25% of the WAR that Toronto's position players have racked up since 2019, the year that both players made their debuts. But the Blue Jays aren't close to an extension with Bichette either. According to Bichette, in fact, the Blue Jays have yet to hit him up about one. In other words, it's conceivable that the Blue Jays' two best position players are gone by next year. On top of that, Toronto's average starting pitcher will be 34 years old this season. And while both those things are disconcerting on their own, it's even more troubling given how bleak Toronto's farm system is. By all accounts, the Blue Jays have one of baseball's bottom 10 farm systems. The Athletic's Keith Law recently put them at 24th. So did ESPN's Kylie McDaniel. Meanwhile, in Fangraph's recent rankings of the top 100 prospects in baseball, there wasn't a single Blue Jays player in the top 50. It just doesn't look like there's a wave of young talent that will soon be ready to come up and form the bedrock of a new competitive window for the Blue Jays, who have been generally solid but ultimately disappointing throughout the Vlad and Bo years. All of that is to say, no team in Major League Baseball is under more pressure to win the World Series in 2025 than the Blue Jays, a 74-win team a year ago. Actually, it's fair to say that no team is under more pressure to have a solid first half than Toronto. Because if the Blue Jays are out of the playoff race by July, they'd be remiss not to trade away Guerrero and Bichette to help replenish that underwhelming farm system. That would obviously be the most excruciating outcome for a team that has yet to win a playoff game with Guerrero and Bichette in uniform and invested considerable money into their 2025 roster, but it's also a distinct possibility at this point. And so, as the Blue Jays gear up for their most pressure-packed season in recent memory, with the linchpin of their lineup and organization seemingly bound for free agency, that usual sense of spring renewal undoubtedly has a different vibe to it. One that says, this could be the beginning of the end. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.